Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the world. I am Paul Sisler, and this is In the Moment. Hello, hello, hello. Today, we are going to dig in. This episode may go longer than the hour, okay? We are going to be digging in on one of the most controversial topics that's out there right now. Critical race theory, CRT. A lot of people truly have no clue what in the fuck CRT is. So we are going to educate people today. With that, let me bring in Jeremy Baker. Hello, Jeremy.
Hello, I'm in high def today. Got my better camera, so I'm feeling much better about this. If I knew I would look so good, I would have shaved a little better if I knew I was going to be this.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right.
Sorry.
We got Sarah Doneghy coming in and all that. In fact, here she is. Hello, Sarah.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late.
Slacker.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
I am.
I just announced the opening about what we're going to discuss today. Critical race theory. We are going to educate the people. All right. So, first thing that I'm going to start out with is this is from John Oliver on last week tonight. And again, I'm going to show just a brief segment so that they don't stop my stream for copyright infringement. Okay. This is from YouTube. This is from YouTube from last week tonight. Here we go. Here we go.
It's the only setting in which a child dissecting a frog is not an immediate red flag. We teach kids a lot in school, from reading to long division to how to play the fucking recorder for some reason. But recently, there's been a lot of concern over one particular thing that people worry that kids are learning.
Critical race theory is being taught in our schools. Critical race theory is bunk.
Critical race theory is a lie. From the first word to the last, from start to finish.
Racist critical race theory.
Critical race theory.
Critical race theory in the school and the wokeness.
Let me tell you right now, critical race theory is bigoted, it is a lie, and it is every bit as racist as the Klansmen in white sheets.
I do not like that Klan. I do not like him shouting Klan. I do not like him in a room. I do not like him in Cancun.
All right. There we go. Okay. So
I'm convinced none of them have read about critical race theory.
They haven't. They haven't. Go ahead, Sarah.
Maybe. If they have, then I don't believe the people supporting ending critical race theory know what it is.
No.
But I'll say more. That's what I'll say for now.
Okay.
No, actually, that's a good way to put it. They're actually taking it and making it into this evil thing, and people are believing what they're saying is essentially what's happening. And they're not looking into it like we look into it. People just take these people's words for it, and it's so frustrating.
Exactly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read a little something here on critical race theory, who the writers of it are, where it originates, on all this stuff, just so people know that it's not what the right is saying it is.
Not even close.
Hey. All right. The First Amendment. All right, here we go. Critical race theory. Critical race theory, CRT, is a movement that challenges the ability of conventional legal strategies to deliver social and economic justice, and specifically calls for legal approaches that take into consideration race as a nexus of American life. The movement champions many of the same concerns as the civil rights movement, but places those concerns within a broader economic and historical context. It often elevates the equality principles of the 14th Amendment above the liberty principles of the First Amendment. Now, I want you to really just let this sink in real quick here, okay? Let this sink in. CRT is underpinning in the philosophical writings of Derek Bell. Derek Bell, Google him, all right, Google him, in the 1970s and the early 1980s. It was born out of the realization by legal scholars, lawyers, and activists that many of the advances of the civil rights era had stopped and in some circumstances were being reversed. Early on, legal scholars, including Bell, Alan Freeman, and Richard Delgado, began developing alternative legal theories and frameworks for combating racial inequality. Their approaches combined various other theoretical positions, among them critical legal studies, critical theory, feminist theory, postmodernism, and cultural studies. Some of the basic tenets of CRT rest on the belief that racism is a fundamental part of American society, not simply an aberration that can be easily corrected by law, that any given culture constructs its own social reality in its own self-interest. And in the United States, this means that minorities' interests are subservient to the system's self-interest, and that the current system, built by and for white elites, will tolerate and encourage racial progress for minorities only if this promotes the majority's self-interest. Remember, the majority being white elites. Okay?
That was one of my talking points, damn it.
I can go on to talk about Kimberly Crenshaw, Angela Harris, Charles Lawrence, Mari Matsuda, and Patricia Williams. I can go into all these different books, Race, Racism, and American Law, Critical Race Theory, Key Writings That Form the Movement, Words That Wound, A Tort Action for Racial Insults, Epithets, and Name-Calling. First Amendment formalism is giving way to First Amendment legal realism. It goes on and on and on. Go to the First Amendment Encyclopedia. Check it out. I am telling you right now, all this stuff, all this rhetoric that the right is proposing on critical race theory is bullshit. Period. Because why? They are the white elites.
And CRT promotes awareness, and that's one of the many things that they're against. They've made awareness an enemy.
Sarah's
it's not a political.
Well,
not, yeah. Huh? So go ahead, please.
Sarah's dying.
I mean, when you said, "Can you come?" Yes, Paul was like, "Can you come to?" Yes. Let's go. First, I want to say, I wonder if John Oliver is aware that Dr. Seuss was a major racist, if that was ironic that he ended with that, or if he just didn't know, because that was interesting. What I was reading, what Derek Bell also said, and what he was saying in this, but I want to go back to, was, and this goes back to the Brown versus Board of Education.
Yes.
So it ended segregations in school. However, what Bell was saying, what I've been reading about, was he was like, that was for cosmetic use only.
Yep.
The USA could not defend segregation to people abroad. So
Correct.
in order to help those relations, they ended segregation in schools. However, they never did. My dad was the first person, or went to the first desegregated school in West Virginia, and he was allowed to be there. That's cosmetically only. Like, his white neighbors had to walk him in a circle to school, and like the teachers called him the N-word and encouraged like people to beat him up. Like, so what I'm saying is, it was you're allowed to be Black in the classroom, but not much more.
Right.
Yeah, he supervised over 300 desegregation cases in Louisiana alone, I believe it was. So even after something goes into effect, it doesn't make it that the people just accept it. I mean, for some reason, people in this country just resist. You know what I mean? It seems like we're constantly fighting for equal rights, and it doesn't seem like. I don't understand why people are so afraid of equal rights. I don't understand why people are so against equal rights. But even Derek Bell says in there that if typically white people won't participate if it A doesn't benefit them and or B affects them negatively, and that's easy, or they'll stand out against it if it affects them negatively. As opposed to trying to understand the situation, they would rather just say no.
Yeah, and I think it's because they're just like we saw in 2016, that because they're being told this will affect you negatively.
Yeah,
it's just
they're constantly saying, "Oh, the CRT is bad." Oh, and I mean they're attacking trans people left and right. Like I mean, CRT goes into much.
Yes.
They could call it critical oppressions that are you know what I mean, and take it to a whole broader spectrum. Like what they're doing with trans people, right?
Is right included in that.
Like I'm a straight male in America, and I don't understand what people go through when they go through their identity, their journey when it comes to figuring out who they are. That's their journey. Mm-hmm. And then when people, and I say that online and people lash out at me saying, "Oh, you're just like," they reply with such ignorant hate. Like I'll tell them, like, look, why the reason I'm not upset about it is A, it's not my body, B, it's not my kid, and C, nobody's forcing anyway. You know what I mean? And these people immediately reply like, "Oh, you're a kid toucher," and you know what I mean? And I'm like, look, people, nobody is going around America coming for your penises and vaginas. Like, it's not happening. But they're so terrified of transgender people because they're being told to be terrified of transgender people.
Yeah. And gender studies, like, you may have been able to learn in the class that they're banning a little bit more about not understanding. But yeah, I hear you, and they're including gender studies in the whole CRT conversation.
Well, definitely. Well, here's what it comes down to. When you look at me, you see a male, white. You're going to assume that I'm probably an evangelical. That's going to be the assumption, okay? And you're going to think you're going to think that you have this privilege that allows you to talk about other people in a way that is not equal in any way. What white people in power, the white elites, what they're afraid of losing if they give everybody equality, what they're afraid of losing is their privilege, because they have privilege. Okay. They have
privilege. You want to talk about white privilege? Look at these people's, look at the Republican intern poll, and then look at the Democrats intern poll. Yeah, you'll be amazed how white the Republican side is.
Yes.
As far as their interns go, it is like literally only white people almost.
Well, and I think even more than privilege, although this is involved, they're going to lose votes when these kids learn what they're voting for and what they're not voting for and what things are about. They're going to lose votes, period. They're going to lose their position of power. Like that. That's what I think the biggest threat is.
Right. Well, go ahead, Jeremy.
I was going to say, me and Paul were talking about this earlier. That oh shit! Now I lost my train of thought.
Well, I'm going to finish.
Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead. Yes, please.
That comes back to privilege, okay? Because right now they have the privilege due to their skin color of getting those votes because of the system that's at hand, okay?
Yeah.
As some of the writings of Derek Bell and a few others talk about, the system benefits them. The system that we have benefits them. And if we go and change the system, it no longer benefits them, which means they won't get voted into power. They will lose their power. They will lose their authority. And they're afraid of that because they're afraid that the people that they have oppressed will now oppress them.
Do you
That
think
is a fear. Oh,
It comes down to fear. A lot of it comes down to basic, absolute fear.
I
They're
have been-
afraid they're going to lose out on something, or they're going to lose something altogether if somebody else gets.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? Like
I
piece
agree.
of the pie.
They
You
don't
share that piece of the pie
understand.
with more and more people. They're afraid their piece is going to get smaller and smaller.
right, exactly. Equality
Yeah.
means you're knocked off, not equal.
Right. And it usually
Right.
comes down to money. People freak out when it comes to touching their money. You can see that when it comes to our politics. The first thing they talked about when they went into Congress was defunding the IRS. Literally because they're afraid of people touching their money. They don't want to give their big piece of the pie to us small little peasants. and that itself, I think, is a massive oppression that people don't look at because they're so busy worried about transgender this and race this, to look at the fact that we are being oppressed on a massive scale financially, economically. And there are people in the government that want to help, that do want to help, but there's a lot that really just don't.
Yeah.
As long as they get their piece, they don't care what happens to us.
Well, and they don't want equal rights. They do want to be kept at the top. And I think that's what it's about as well.
I have heard in a multitude of different groups that I have been a part of, whether for political reasons or for fitting in or just being part of a group, whatever the case may be, going out, hanging out with friends. And I have heard multiple discussions. If they, and they usually use the N-word, ever take power, they're going to enslave us like we did then. It just can't happen. It is a legitimate fear, a brainwashing that has been put into their minds that if people of color take power, that they're going to enslave the white man. Oh my God. Okay.
Woo.
When Obama became president, I'm telling you, I heard so many people with this
Yeah.
say that, oh my God, our things are going to get bad, man. We're going to be enslaved. We're going to have all of our rights taken away. They're going to take all of our guns away. They're not going to let us go to church. They're going to do all of this stuff and all that. We're going to lose our God. We're going to lose this. We're going to lose that. That is a legitimate fear in their mind. And this is why we have the Ted Cruzes and the McCarthys and the Marjorie Taylor Greens out there saying that critical race theory is evil. We can't let people know about it. They can't read about it. They can't hear about it because they're going to shame
that's what I wanted to say.
white children.
That's what I wanted to say. You know what? And they have still not figured this out because most of them are complete idiots, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, that the more you push against something, like you're just bringing it into the spotlight more and more. Like the reason I never even heard the term critical race theory until I started getting into into politics. And I kept hearing, well, the critical race theory is bad. But I'm like, and I'm the kind of person, I don't take a news channel's word for it, or definitely not a politician's word for it. I use this amazing new invention they did. It's called Google. And you can use Google for lots of stuff, like looking shit up. And you can actually look up what critical race theory is. And not only is critical race theory, it's not even like we talked about it, Paul. It's not even a theory anymore. This is critical race fact.
It's critical
at
race
this
fact.
point.
Yeah.
They're afraid. Again, it comes down to fear. They don't want people to realize on what an epic level oppression and like everything, racism and sexism is literally built into I mean, like Paul said on one of our episodes, they had to make an amendment just to be able to free the slaves and to give women the right to vote.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's the stuff we're dealing with.
But yeah. And let's talk. Oh, go ahead, Paul.
No, go ahead.
Let's talk what they're really doing, because now they're using critical race theory to actually spill over. They don't teach critical race theory in grades K through 12. They don't. What they teach is Black history. And what they're banning is Black history. When you ban a book, The Life of Rosa Parks, you're not banning CRT. And that's exactly what they're doing. So much so that even though they're calling it CRT out there, the bans in Florida and Texas and pending bans can't even call it that. They call it divisive concepts because they can't even call it CRT because it's not CRT. And if you look up divisive concepts, they cannot, teachers in Florida and Texas face not only losing their license and their job, being put on probation for 5 years, being charged $5,000 and up to 5 years in prison if they say race or racism. So if someone asks about Black Lives Matter, anything, the teachers are either told to lie or say, I can't talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
I can.
And this is happening now. So it's not, they are banning Black history.
Yes.
Period. And so this isn't CRT. I think they're using this as a mouthpiece because people are like, oh my God, CRT is bad, blah, 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 blah. But now they're just wiping out any history.
They are. I mean, anything that's not flattering to, like Paul said, the white elites, they don't want anybody to know about it. You know what I mean? They don't want, because what it really, we talked about the origins of racism on one of our past shows. I think it was the episode that you were on, Sarah. And it's perpetuated by the rich whites back in the day. And then this whole stupid false narrative has continued today to where white people are supposed to stick together just because we're white. I mean, it doesn't even make sense anymore. You know what I mean? It's 2023 and all that stuff. And when you even say it out loud, it's like, why?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And the fact that people are still so narrow-minded to think that you're better or whatever because of something like skin color or the amount of money you make, because you know what I mean? And as a poor person in America, I can tell you there's definitely oppression when it comes to, like, you get treated like shit by people with money if you don't have money. That's just a fact of America. Not always. There are good people out there, but man, they see you pull up in a beat up car or something like that, they won't even hold the door for you. You know what I mean? It's a shame what the level of oppression that is in America. And I think CRT is just a way to, I think it's a bridge to open up conversations like this about the overall amount of oppression, not just racism, but then we have sexism. Now we have gender identity. We have all these different things. Now they're, like we talked about earlier, they're even talking about trying to raise the voting age to 21. Like, the level of oppression is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But people will target on one kind of oppression, like racism, and they won't focus on anything else. And there's a much bigger picture, but nobody's going to see the bigger picture until we all actually stop hating and come together and figure this out.
Right. But it's not going to happen because they're not going to allow it to happen. Okay. Individuals are going to have to do this on their own. All right.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And the reason why they're coming out so hard and heavy on it, I want you to think about how, like, take the word woke. Okay. When you're woke, you acknowledge that there's injustices. You see them. Okay. And now, obviously, it's pushed further. All right. And woke is a bad word. Now, woke is, we got to have a war on wokeism. We can't have wokeism. We can't have people knowing there are injustices and inequality. They can't know this. The problem is that it's not a problem. It's where we are in this country. The majority of people know that this kind of crap is going on. Okay. I would say probably a good 70% of the population recognizes the inequalities that affect people. All right. The current system that we have and its design allows that 30% to have a say and control on how we do things. because I can go into gerrymandering, I can go into the Electoral College, I can talk about all these things that allow this white elitism to maintain its power and control, to allow this system of hatred to continue to work. Now, when I wrote my book, I discovered a shit ton of things, all right, especially when it comes to racism, systemic racism, judicial racism. And one of the things that critical race theory talks about, I'm going to put this back up, RAV v. St. Paul. This was about a youth that put a cross in a neighbor's yard and burned it. And this went to the Supreme Court because this was an act of hate. And the Supreme Court did not address the hatred. The Supreme Court addressed the ordinance in St. Paul and said the ordinance was unconstitutional. Following the Supreme Court's ruling in RAV v. St. Paul 1992, which seemingly closed the door on hate speech regulation. Delgado continued to publish extensively on the legality and necessity of hate speech regulation. Relying heavily on social scientific data, Delgado outlined the harm caused by racist speech and developed a tort action for racial insults that he believed could pass First Amendment scrutiny. Okay. And obviously, it's not working because people can still walk down the street and use the N-word. Okay. Freely.
Yeah.
We used to have criminal syndicalism laws that disallowed that kind of stuff, which goes back to Chaplinsky v. New Hampshire. And Jesus Christ. Oh, I get so riled up.
Keep it going,
All right. Brandenburg v. Ohio was the first door that opened up the continuation of hate speech regulation that basically abolished almost every syndicalism law written, that you couldn't go around talking about hatred towards people. You couldn't call Chaplinsky v. New Hampshire. A Jehovah's Witness called a sheriff Jesus Christ, a fascist and I forget, it was something else simple and all that. We hear people calling everybody fascist all the time and tyrants and blah, blah, blah. You go back to Chaplinsky v. New Hampshire, you go to prison for 30 years for that. But you know who's going to prison for that? Jehovah's Witnesses, minorities, black, brown, indigenous, women, not the white elites. No, because they have that privilege. They have the law on their side that allow these things, okay? You have to be the white male evangelical property owner to continue to have your, just the creation of white alone. The creation of white is to make the lower whites think that they have power over the other people that are brown, yellow, red. Oh my God, you know, because we are going to be an elite someday, you know. All of this is just so frustrating to me. And now they come out and they say that we're going to ban CRT. It's racist. It's bullshit from first word to last word. No, Tucker Carlson, Carl Fuckerson, whatever in the hell your name is. Get some goddamn books and learn about it. Learn who Derek Bell is and maybe educate.
Well, that's what I was going to say. All you got to do is go on Wikipedia. You can see Derek Bell's complete history, his upbringing. He came from nothing. You know what I mean? And the guy's resume is stacked. Compare that resume to some of the people that are talking shit. Like, I dare to say Derek Bell knows a hell of a lot more than the people that are trying to ban this for being. And how is it racist to talk about?
It's not. Well, no, but what they're saying is it's racist against white people. That is absolutely what they're saying.
It's not actually a thing, though.
Well, you know this, okay?
It's not. I mean,
I know, Jeremy. But it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is, yes, we know this. We're talking about this, but what people are hearing is, yes, exactly, that's racist against white people, because they're always called the racist. And honestly, when a lot of white people hear the R word, they're like, it's about us, not just white people. It's about me personally. And that's a big thing. And I will argue, I don't think 70% of people know what's going on and know what's wrong. I think people are so involved in themselves that, and it's very easy to not watch the news or read a paper. And unfortunately in America, like, it's not out there. And I think, I mean, and that's why banning CRT and banning Black history is happening, because like you said, Jeremy, you have to look on the internet and go into it. I had to go in to learn about what was happening. But, and I mean, you've got to search and you've got to take the time to search. And a lot of people don't want to do that. They just want to believe what's being put out there, especially people are like,
I grew up in the 80s when if we wanted to, I grew up in the 80s when if we wanted to look something up, we had to actually like get on our skateboards and bikes to go to the library and look it up. So like when people don't look stuff up, when they have something in their hand that can look it up for them, they don't even have to type it in. They can use voice to search. I mean, epidemic laziness.
But they don't want to know, and they don't want you to know. But if you're being taught in a class, just like English, this is the ABCs, and this is why gerrymandering is happening, and there aren't people of color in your neighborhood, and what is, you know, you can't get away from that. And I think that's what's going on, and that's what they're worried about, and that's who's going to vote.
Right. Oh, definitely. Here's why I say it's 70%. I'm not going to say 70% are woke like we are, educated in the matters like we are. Okay, that's you're right. That's not 70%, not even close to 70%. When I say 70%, I'm saying that there's people that they know that there's racism out there. They know that there's this hatred out there. They know that there's bigotry and misogyny and all these other things out there, but they really don't think it's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. It really doesn't affect me because, okay, so I'm not worried about it as long as it doesn't affect me. Until it affects me, I'm not going to worry about it. And that's where a big problem is, because now if you take those people out of that percentage I'm talking about, then yes, it probably drops down to about maybe 30%. Okay. And I think that's more reasonable. I think maybe about 30% of the population is truly woke to what's really going on. And they're the ones that are out there really trying to fight and promote equality and stuff like that. And unfortunately, we also have the people that know what's going on. And like Malcolm X said, be careful of the liberal. Be careful of the liberal. They know what's going on. They've had the power to do something and choose not to, because they're making the money off of the system too. And that's what it comes down to, making money. This is why they want to ban and eliminate Black history, critical race theory. They want to ban all of the racial things from school, Black Lives Matter, Trans Lives Matter, get rid of all of this equality and feminism talk, and get rid of this Me Too movement, and get rid of all this wokeism, because if people truly find out what's going on, they're going to take away our power and our money.
And that is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what should happen.
What's going to happen. And that exactly, but they're getting through to the people who are voting now. I mean, these laws are out of control. I mean, the pitch is swinging, like, but it's going in. And I think, as far as, I think, Paul, you're right. If it doesn't have to do with me, then I'm not interested. But I think now that people like us and other people are seeing what's happening since social media and since things are getting filmed, it's like, okay, now that racism is being called out, white people do need to take responsibility. And so that's the whole Well, I'm being attacked too. You're saying this is racist? Well, people are racist against me because I'm white. Like, this is happening because no one wants to take responsibility. And no one wants to admit, hey, I'm racist. Yeah, well, some people, but a lot of people.
Some people are way too proud to admit that.
Oh yeah.
Part of the
Like
other
the stuff
problem
that's going on against even Jewish people. Another example of oppression in America right now. Like, it's like some straight up World War II shit. This is some straight up World War II shit. And we talked about this last week, I think, when we talked about the books that are banned out of Florida. And Sarah, the one book that is not banned in Florida that I can't find it. Somebody would please prove me wrong. I'm still upset about it. Is Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler. That is not a banned book in Florida. But books about being blood. Tell me that doesn't piss you off a little bit.
I mean, they wanted to.
There are books about being black. There's books about being gay. There's books about being trans. Those books are being banned. There's a book called I don't know if it's still banned in Florida. I think it is, called "How to Be an Anti-Racist" by Ibram X. Kendi.
Yeah.
And then reading about him, he's like the next, like Derek Bell. Now that's who I think of. You know what I mean when it comes to.
Go on.
And he teaches up in Massachusetts. He's like the director of anti-racist research or something like that. I should have pulled it up. But there's a lot of people out there, I think, now that are aware of what's going on, that are in positions. And this is the one thing I'll lead right into this. This is the one talking point I thought was really, really important. And I think this is happening now because more people of color are in positions of influence and of power, that they're able to be heard a lot more than like somebody like me. But one of the things he had was called the Voice of Color thesis. Is because of different histories and experiences to those of white counterparts, matters that the white people are unlikely to know must be communicated to them by the racialized minorities. Basically saying there's got to be an open line of communication between the races. And we talked about it before, like the different levels of racism, the different levels of ignorance. Some people just don't know, and they need to be told. And they're usually pretty receptive on new concepts. And if you tell them something's wrong, they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Some people are like that. Some people are just ignorant and just don't give a shit. And those are the people that I don't know if we'll ever get to or through to.
Yeah.
But there are things that people don't know that need to be verbalized by the people that are being oppressed. Because and that's usually when people are being oppressed, the oppressors usually don't care until the oppressed voice and rise up and cause problems for the oppressors. You know what I mean? That's when they start taking notice. But until then, they really don't care, whether it's race or economic or gender or whatever.
But let's talk about the civil rights movement, because no one started paying attention until white people began to march. Let's be real. No one started to care until that was happening. And as far as the oppressed speaking up and educating, we're over it. We're tired. I mean, and it's just like, I've had two types of defenses. I'll call someone out for being racist. That's not racist at all. Or I'll call someone out being racist. How? Explain to me. Explain this to me. Send me articles. Send me the blah, blah, blah. I mean, what it is going to take, and we've talked about this too, but just like being in the streets, it's going to take white people to tell other white people this is racist.
We could talk about that before you.
Yeah, when a person of color is like, that's racist, it's like, oh, well, everything's about race to you people, which in and of itself is racist. But it has to come. If white people are not going to listen to people of color, but they, a lot of times, or take as seriously as they will a white person saying this is racist.
I think what Derek Bell was trying, the way I read it was, like, if, like, I'm open to learning about different ways of ending oppression, and I'm open to new ways of learning what actually is oppression. So I would be more receptive to somebody to come to me and be like, if like I'm trying to explain this how it doesn't sound like I'm a complete idiot, and I'm not doing a very good job.
We're just talking.
I'm not saying like I don't think that he's expecting that you're supposed to tell every single white person ever the oppression that you're going through, but there has to be an open line of communication, like we talked about in our racism episode, like between a black person and a white person, or some black people and some white people, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then that white person is then responsible to take that message out. And I think that the message you left, was it you or was it Lana, told us to use our white privilege to our advantage. And what I mean, it is upon some of the white people now to go out and say, look, because it used to be if you said you weren't racist as a white person, that would just mean that you were racist, which is
still
weird,
does.
but then, it still does. You know what I mean? But now it is come to a point where white people have to say, look, enough is enough. This is idiotic. There's no reason to oppress people based on this, and this, and this is what we need to do to change this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it has come to that point.
About you too. This is about to other white people. It's like, no, it's not just about what they're going through. It's about what all of us are going through.
Yes. Yes.
And we all, and Derek Bell talks about we all have overlapping goals. We all have overlapping identities. We all have overlapping stories. You know what I mean? At some point, there's a connection within us all. And if we're able to somehow find that connection within us all, we can accomplish ridiculously good things.
Oh, we are accomplishing ridiculously good things because we're getting that information out there one way or another.
Yeah.
And, no matter how many TikTok accounts you get banned, Jeremy, no matter how many Twitter accounts you get banned, you just keep getting the word out there and you keep opening up more accounts. Okay.
I'm running out of social media.
Oh God.
Get another Gmail and get another account, motherfucker.
It's so hard. Again, but the thing is, I've never said anything hateful unless it was like directed at like Kanye West, because I like calling him Adolf Hitler.
But
that's my nickname for him, man. Adolf.
If you get banned,
like that. He said Hitler wasn't that bad. He liked Hitler, so he may actually.
But see, like that even is perpetuating white supremacy by saying stuff like that. Even though he's black, he's perpetuating a ridiculous concept that Hitler was okay. No,
because he's going to get in with the white elites. He thinks he's going to get in with the white elites, that he's going to be accepted as one of them.
Maybe. Kanye West is bipolar and is famous for saying he doesn't take his meds. So
that's a good possibility. But I have run across.
He'd fit right in with white people.
I have run across people of color that basically they hate their own race. You can just hear it.
Oh,
it's embarrassing to be white right now. I'm sorry, I'll say it.
No, but people of color, but I mean, there's still skin. How could you look? How could you not, when you've grown up, being told you're not pretty, being told I didn't have that many Barbies, period. But all the Barbies I had this long blonde hair and white skin and blue eyes. And I know I wanted that. I wanted to look like the people I saw on TV or the cereal boxes or the Barbies. So I hear that. If you're selling bleach for people's skin, if you're selling perm or relaxer to make people's hair look more white, there is self-hate. There's a lot of racism people of color have to undo within themselves because we have grown up in a racist country. It took me till I was nearly 30 to love my hair. I mean, I was straightening it. I wanted this, not gonna happen. God, don't.
I'm 45. I just got braids. Come on now.
I love your hair and you're beautiful. So I don't care what anybody else says.
No, but you may not.
You are a beautiful person.
Thank you.
No, I'm just saying about loving your hair because I even go through that.
But you're loving my hair. But I was told all my life, white hair is the pretty hair. Seriously.
Oh, okay.
So this whole movement of people even embracing their natural hair, it's a big deal because there is self-hate pounded into us. Like we were born in slavery and all these racist things are going on. People have PTSD for cops following them for no reason, following them in the store, being told you can't go here, here, here. Like there's self-hate.
Yes.
So now there's a lot of work. There's a lot of inner work to do as well for people of color in America, because to embrace yourself, knowing that so many don't embrace you for this.
See, that's the hard part about even like I said about embarrassing being white right now, because the way we're represented right now is a joke. I mean, like you know what I mean? Because I don't want people to look at me and just think, is he racist? Is he not? What is he thinking? This, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Because I'm not like that. And I don't like the hate they're perpetuating out there right now. But the platforms, they're being given platforms to openly say all this nonsense. And I know they do it just for sound bites and just to get on the television. Like the more outrageous stuff they say, the more, the more money they make, the more people. Well, not even just him, but like even the politicians right now, like the hate that comes out of like Marjorie Taylor Greene is my go-to example. Like the amount of hate that comes out of this woman's mouth. And I have a really good joke about it, but I'm not going to say it on the show.
Okay.
I don't want to get in trouble.
Tell me after. Don't forget.
Yeah, like I hate the amount of hate that is shown. Again, it's our society. People are more interested in drama. People are more interested in all the hatred that's going on. Like it's more intense. You know what I mean? And I even understand why people don't want to get involved in politics and don't want to get in. I see a lot of people don't even want to get on social media anymore just because all the drama, all the hatred, all the ignorance. Like it's so out. But now that we can actually see it, we can actually target it, I think, and maybe fight it better. Now that these people are coming out of the woodwork and showing their stupid faces and putting it online for the world to see, which if you're dumb enough to do that, go for it. It just makes you an easy target.
But in filming police, and that's a big one. But I will say that is some push back. I mean, honestly, going back to what Belle said about ending segregation for cosmetic reasons.
Right.
No way that cop would have been convicted had George Floyd not caused a worldwide uprising. Do you see what I mean? That cop would have been put on paid leave, period, at most.
If that, more than likely, he would have got a fucking promotion out of the goddamn deal, and it would have been a justified homicide.
Or an accidental death or a medical condition.
Absolutely.
And that's Derek Bell talks a lot about this. We got, first of all, in the legal system, they have to stop taking the cops' fucking word for it. I'm sorry for my language, but cops are trying. If a cop says he did something wrong and a case goes bad, he could lose his job. So he's in cover his ass mode. So a cop is a person who is trying to save his job. So he's obviously going to maybe embellish the truth or outright lie to make sure that he doesn't lose his job. You know what I mean? And that's not even remotely a fair trial to anyone in any situation where if they're going to just immediately take a cop's word over mine.
Yeah.
Even though, you know what I mean?
There's rarely a trial because who investigates it? The cops.
The cops. I mean, it's
I mean, that's what it is. But because people are filming, you can see it. You can just see it.
And you would think they would know by now. Like this isn't the days of Rodney King anymore. It's not like people walking around with camcorders. Like everybody has a phone that videos stuff, and they're still doing this stuff. Nothing. It's like not much has really changed. If not, there's more.
Well, no, there's change. It's just in very, very slow increments. All right.
So slow.
And what's sad is because there's these slow increments, then those that are now getting caught doing what they do are fighting back because they don't want to lose that privilege that they had before. They had the privilege of beating a brown man or a black man or a woman or whoever and getting away with it. And they're about to lose that privilege. Think about that.
Think cops are
well, even with the cops. What was that? The five? It was the 5 black cops that killed the guy. The one cop. And I'm not saying. I'm just trying to. I can't remember the name. That's the only reason I'm referencing. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to refer to him like that. But yeah, you know.
No, they did.
Okay. Okay.
Think about this though.
The one cop, though. The one cop actually was a prison guard, and the whole wing that he was in, or the whole unit or block he was on, all the prisoners literally did a petition, went in front of the warden, trying to get this guy kicked off because he was so abusive, violent, treated them like shit, abused their rights, took away their rights, refused them stuff that they were supposed to have. And because he quit right before he was about to get fired, it never was on his permanent record. He never lost any licenses or certifications.
Yeah.
And he ends up being one of the guys that kills a guy on the street.
I feel like two things. I feel like that's why a lot of people become cops. I know. But also, let's talk about they were all black. First off, well, no, how do I say that? They were immediately fired. Immediately fired. Immediately.
Right?
Immediately going to be put on trial. So I was like, oh, so they're black. So let's talk about
That's awful. That's awful.
But is it?
I mean,
But let's talk about that. But let's also talk about how people were thrilled that they were black because they said, well, then it's not racist. You better believe it was racist. You better believe it's because this guy was black that it happened because, as CRT would teach, that is a racist system. Like, just because you are black does not mean you can't racially profile someone, which is exactly what they do. So you better believe that was racist.
I just want to clarify the reason I said that was awful is because the fact that the black cops were immediately fired, but white cops are put on an administrative leave. They're
immediately
internally investigated.
Right.
And then, you know what I mean?
Now, I want you to think about something here. Hold on. Okay. Slow down a second. Slow down.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the Stanford prison experiment?
Yes, I am actually.
Okay. The prisoners became abusive. I mean, the prison guards became abusive to the prison people they went to school with. And they weren't actually prisoners and they weren't actually prison guards, but yet they took on that role, that power role, that, okay. Now, you're a black man that is in a position of power in a white man's authoritarian world. Are you going to act like the black man or are you going to act like the white man? Think about this. You have a system that is set up to profile black people.
That's it.
Okay?
Yeah, that's it right
You
there.
have a system set up to profile black people. When you're in that position of power, the white man's position of power, it doesn't matter what your skin color is. It doesn't matter what your gender is. You are expected to act like that white man of power.
And not just that with systemic racism. And it goes everywhere. Like, look, the security, look, so many security guards that follow black people are black themselves. Like, it has no, it's a racist agenda. It's a racist system. It is born out of racism. Who are they told to target? What neighborhoods are they going to track people? Like,
they're put into a racist.
Some people in Harlem, okay, but are you going down to Chelsea? I don't know if you know that. Are you going down to the white neighborhood, the rich white neighborhoods? No, to check people. Do you see what I'm saying? You're not stopping and frisking white people down in wherever. I'm trying to think of New York. You're stopping and frisking people in black and brown neighborhoods.
So they're still
Right.
racially profiling against
Bingo.
themselves, essentially. I mean, their own. You know what I mean? It's man, that's weird to think about. But yeah, you're right. Once they're in that position, they profile just like they've
And they're
been
told
profiled.
to, and they're told to, and taught to, and those
And
are the
trained to.
neighborhoods
Yeah,
they're
they're trained to do that. That's what they're told. Yeah, you're exactly right. And
Yes.
I think see the thing I like about doing these episodes every Saturday is the fact that we can openly talk about this stuff, because racism drives me mad. It drives me absolutely mad that people hate other people because of skin color.
Yeah.
And why do white people think they're more superior? I mean, literally, we can't even go out in the sun for that long without getting skin cancer. How
Yeah.
superior can we possibly be?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's stupid to think that because of the color of our skin, that you're better, worse, or indifferent than anybody else. You know what I mean? And until Americans see, that's why I always say America is one nation, one people. You know what I mean? Because I believe that we need to work on, and I don't know if I came up with this quote. I think I may have come up with a quote where it says long-term changes require short-term action.
Nice.
Right? I'm like a modern day Buddha. Like, that's what weed does to me. I get philosophical.
I love that.
I want to give you some food for thought here, okay, Jeremy? I want you to think about things in a different way. All right, let me give you a second. Give me a second here. Let me set the premise.
Oh, no.
I watched a TikTok video, and this woman was commenting on there's a thing about there where women would say all men, all men, all men.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, you have men that come out and say, but not all men. I'm not. Not all men, but I'm not. Now, do you own a gun?
Do I?
Yeah.
Not currently, but I'm a guy. Yeah.
Have
I've
you ever
owned
been
guns.
to a
Yeah.
gun class?
Yeah.
What's the first thing they teach you about a gun? You treat the gun what?
What do you mean, as a weapon?
Treat it as if it's always loaded.
Oh, yeah. Never pointed at anybody ever.
When you're cleaning it, when you're taking it apart, when whatever you're doing, you always treat a gun as if it is loaded, because you never know. You never know. Now, let's apply this. Gun owners are going to just hate me now. They're really going to hate me. You're a woman, and you come across a man. You treat the man as if he's a loaded fucking gun, because you just never know. You just never know. Okay? I apply that to a lot of things. I come across a white man. Is he a racist? I'm going to treat him like a loaded gun until I know. Until I know. We got Bryce in here. Food for thought. I don't deny racial profiling exists, but how do you quantify white people getting beat down or abused by police?
That happens?
Yes. I absolutely. But I don't think they get beat down by police because they are white.
White people get beat down by police because they done some dumbass shit.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily at all. Here recently, a guy was murdered for taking anxiety medication while waiting for his kid. Like, look, it happens.
Huh?
Yeah.
I
And
heard about that,
look, it happens. Look, I do not. I'll say it again. I just said it. I do know that white people do get abused by police and do get beat up by police, but not because they see a white person and think that's trouble.
Mm-hmm. I mean, these days with guns and hate and violence the way it is, I mean, everybody's tensions are higher, including cops. I mean, they're still humans. And I just,
well,
I don't know. I'm like I said earlier, like hopefully our short-term actions will have long-term consequences, long-term positive changes. You know what I mean? By starting dialogues about topics like this.
In response to Bryce, It goes back to the Stanford prison experiment, okay?
Mhm.
When you're a person is put in power, you have this innate knowingness of, I have the authority to do whatever in the F I want. I have the authority, and you have to listen to me, okay? Now, I'm telling you right now, a white man is more willing to stand up against a cop than a black man. Because the black man's already in the position of, if I don't do or whatever, I'm already in fear for my life. I can't think straight because this guy's here to murder me.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the white guy is, F you. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. I can shove you back. I'm white.
Okay. I got in trouble for a video I did on TikTok, and I said, like, how, you know, because I was talking about, like, the president, like, what do you have to do to go to jail in this country if you're a rich white person, when black people all across this country are going to jail for fitting the description? You know what I mean? Like, that's literally what's happening right now. Like, rich white people are getting away with murder, and there's innocent people of color all over this country being profiled, put in jail incorrectly. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of injustices. There's a lot of injustices against people, period. Okay.
In this country, there really is.
Whether it goes back to what you were talking about a few weeks ago or whenever, a month ago, Jeremy, when we talked about the creation of the word white and why it was created. Okay. To create that separation, to give a superiority to a people, so that the division is created amongst everybody beneath them. All right. Are there poor white people? Absolutely. Are there poor, or are there white people that are discriminated against because of their age, because of their sex, because of their sexuality? Absolutely. Absolutely. But a white person is never discriminated against because of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Where everyone else that isn't that is. All right. I don't walk outside every day going, oh God, me being a white person and all that. I got to really be careful where I go, how I walk, how I talk, how I move, what I wear, because somebody might come up and hurt me. Okay. I don't walk out. When I walk my pup, that doesn't cross my mind. I'm taking my pup on a walk. But I can guarantee you, only because I've talked to people, I've never experienced it because, okay. But I have talked to people that have said, I walk out the door and I take my pup out. I am scared to death that somebody's going to get in my face because I don't belong here. Mm-hmm. I don't have to worry about that. Mm-hmm. Okay. And now if somebody comes up and does that and I try to stand up for myself, the cops might get called again. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I can honestly say I've never been afraid being pulled over. You know what I mean? I've never had that fear. Well, I can't imagine what that's like.
I have only been asked if I was the owner of the car twice in my entire life. And both of those times I had a black passenger.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, let's talk skin color. Let's talk skin color, because me being so light, I haven't really been too worried about that. My best friend, who is dark skinned, is married to a white man, and every time they're in the car, she makes him drive. Every single time.
That's awful.
It does. And so it's, I mean, yeah.
And I think, yeah. See, I mean, it just pains me to think that stuff like that exists. But I do think, I refuse, unless something crazy happens outside of the country that affects us. I honestly think that.
Thank you, Bryce.
There is a possibility for us to build there is a possibility for us to build a less hateful country. I don't think hate will ever be removed from America, maybe 1,000 years from now, you know what I mean? But I think, honestly, people are starting to see what happens when you put hateful people in office, like in Congress and stuff like that. Like, nothing is getting accomplished. Nothing is getting accomplished that benefits poor people like me. Or, you know what I mean? I'm not getting any additional help putting food on my table.
And you're getting it. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, go ahead. Like, it's real. Like, it's real right now. What's going on in America? Like, half the population makes less than $30,000 a year. That is oppression, and to me, in its worst form, is economic oppression in this country.
Well, and
or capitalism. What do you want to call it?
I mean, I'm on Medicaid, and my son is on Medicaid because I am. And they're about to, like, during the pandemic, it was extended. It was like, great. But a lot of, I don't know, a lot of people also signed up for insurance because of COVID. Now that the emergency, the state of emergency, the emergency for COVID is ending in April, they're estimating that 15 million people will be kicked off of Medicaid.
Yep.
So we're talking about,
and
yeah,
I'm sorry you're going to have to probably go through this, but I hope the Republicans keep pushing this. I hope they take away Medicare and Medicaid. I hope they take away Social Security, because when they do, they're going to lose another 80% of their goddamn vote.
Okay. Why are they trying to alienate literally everybody but rich white people?
They're going
it makes no sense politically. Like, it's the worst strategy of all time.
They're going for a complete capitalist society. And if you eliminate socialism from your society and you're completely reliant upon capitalism, you no longer have government. You no longer have a foundation. Okay.
You no longer have welfare either.
All right. The people who basically rule now through government are the corporations. And once they have complete power, once they take complete power, then they control exactly how much you're going to get paid, if at all, what products are going to get made, who's going to get those products. It's a different form of socialism. Okay? It goes into a Christian or a utopian form of socialism. Capitalism, corporatism becomes its own form of socialism, a very bad form. And that very bad form is the people have no say, no power, no nothing. The corporations have all of this because they control the absolute means of production.
On everything.
They control everything.
I mean, it's already about profit over people. I mean, capitalism to me, if I had to define it in 3 words, I would say profit over people.
Yeah,
that's what I think. When I hear capitalism, I hear profit over people, especially after the train wreck proves my theory.
Yes,
they literally cut costs that could have prevented from that whole disaster from happening, and it was all about profit. They didn't want to spend an extra couple dollars because the president told them they had to, so they've lobbied against it. Probably kicked back a bunch of money for Trump to say, "Okay, we'll just wheel the shit back. You can just do whatever you want." You know what I mean? That's the stuff that happens, though.
Here's the thing. People are so ignorant that they don't understand what we even have in this country. They hear communism, they think the worst. They hear socialism, they think the worst. And then capitalism is the almighty, okay? And then, of course, you got people that are leftists, that they hear capitalism, it's just the evil. Socialism or communism is the way to go. Here's the basis, the basis of all 3 of those things. Communism involves no money. It's volunteer. Okay? So communism is volunteer. Socialism is an exchange. Okay? Capitalism is a profit. All right? When you say profit over people, you're going into a bad form of capitalism. Okay? These are the 3 bases to those things. Can communism be good? Absolutely, it can be good. All right. Take any foundation out there that nobody gets paid. They bring in donations and they redistribute to help people, and nobody's getting paid. Everybody's volunteering. That's communism. And it's a damn good form of communism. It's helping people. Socialism. We have the best form in this country, the best form. We lay and collect taxes, excises, duties, and imposts. That money that's collected is supposed to help the people, first and foremost, the general welfare and the common defense of the people. First and foremost, the general welfare is health and education. We are abusing the greatest form of socialism ever. Okay? Greatest form. What makes it a great form is that the government isn't taking all the money and using it for themselves and investing it and doing things. Oh, wait, they are. That's our form. That's why our form is deteriorating. They're investing in other things. Okay? They're making money off of our money, and we're not seeing anything back for it. They use our money to help pharmaceutical startups get going. They give them tax breaks. They might even show a profit and get more back in taxes than what they did in profit. All right. Again, the whole system that Derek Bell was talking about is created for the white elites. Okay. Our money that they take from us, the working people, they use it to benefit themselves. The pharmaceutical now makes money. Corporatized capitalism. They make a profit. Do we get a kickback for that investment? Hell no. Hell no.
I didn't get my check.
And here's what's sad is that there are white people out there that think they can become one of those elites and that they are entitled to all these good things that come from that, and that they somehow benefit from it. And they are the most ignorant pawns in the game because they are used by these white elites to stir up the racism and the hatred to keep the system working the way the whites at the top want it to work.
That's why they're so upset, because we're starting to see all the cracks in. We talked about this before. We're starting to see the cracks of the bullshit road that they're paving. And I think that's really starting to freak them out. Honestly, in this country, it's got to be about rich versus poor in this country, or we're never going to get. I mean, as long as we're too busy hating over tiny little things, we're never going to get the bigger picture. Like, there's so much more we can accomplish, and there's so much we could all have a better life. I mean, there's no reason for Americans to be living this way right now.
We have to criminalize hatred. Okay, we have to criminalize hatred, and I talk about this. I wrote an amendment in my book, the True Equal Rights Amendment, Section 1. Section 1. The rights of citizens of the United States to be free of discrimination shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of race, sex, age, color, gender, sexual preference, orientation, religion or lack of religion, marital status, country of origin, height, weight, mental or physical state of being, or previous condition of servitude. Section 2. Any violation of Section 1 will be deemed a crime of hate, and with physical and individual evidence, including eyewitness evidence with other evidence, excluding eyewitness evidence as the only evidence, will be punishable as a felony. And until we criminalize hatred and get systemic discrimination, systemic racism, systemic bigotry, systemic xenophobia, systemic ageism, systemic poverty, all of these things eliminated from our goddamn system, we are never going to get rid of the hatred.
We should be banning hatred, not books about not being a hateful asshole.
Well, no, they want to keep the books and all that.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I mean, we keep the books and ban the hate. I mean, I think we'd be better off. You know what I mean? I don't think what they're trying to do is going to last. I don't think it's going to a whole new level of ridiculous is what it's going.
Yeah. I mean, but I think what Paul is saying in very short and small increments, well, much smaller than we want, is that this is happening. So we're getting, I think, the most pushback because people are like, no, this is wrong. This is straight up wrong. And I think what they're doing, the main, and just to repeat myself again, is that they don't want to, if people don't know, then they won't vote them out. And then their power won't shift. but the more like if it's right in front of them and they're forced to learn, and even more so than we are now, then that's it for them.
You can see how they're panicking though, is they're just like, it's like I said, I never even heard the term CRT or critical race theory until these right-wing nut jobs were trying to ban it everywhere. I'm like, what? And that's what got me interested in it. And every time something gets banned, it becomes instantly more popular. And people become more interested in the topic. Why is this so? Because people love controversy.
Ban it, please.
Yeah.
Ban it, ban it, ban it.
I know, right?
Ban
it
it
too, please. I would love for that. So they're actually creating awareness by saying stuff like being anti-woke. Like, oh, well, what's this whole being woke about? Look it up. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? So they're actually pointing people into these directions that they're not trying to. They're trying to say, you should not look at this. This is bad. This is racist. But a lot of people are inquisitive and want to know. Some people are just ignorant and believe anything they're told. But a lot of people, I like to believe, are inquisitive enough to look into something that is so controversial to decide for themselves, why is this controversial or is it at all?
Yeah.
And you'll never convince me that awareness is controversial. I mean, get out of here. Come on. Awareness is a good thing. Like the more aware you are, the better person you are. Period.
Yeah. But I think they feel the opposite.
They do. They were fighting it tooth and nail, but they're just I think
privilege. They want to keep their power and privilege. That's what it comes down to. If they can keep power and privilege and keep us distracted, the red herring effect, distracted with everything else going on in the world, we are not going to pay attention to the backroom deals that they're making to take away even more of our rights. Okay. Right now we got people that are talking about the UFOs and the big spy balloon and more money to Ukraine and all these other things. I hate the Biden administration. They're giving money to the Ukraine. Yeah, well, guess what? If Russia was down there taking Florida over, you wouldn't be saying that. You'd be going down there with your guns going, you can't have Florida.
Right. And why is everybody so pro-Russia? Like, when the hell has Russia ever done anything good?
Well, when Gorbachev was in office and all that, and they were actually pushing towards a democracy and all that, Russia was actually coming back to the forefront of being a good country. But
it just seems like it's always something.
Well, and again, you got to remember that the United States, whenever we have a perceived enemy, okay, and I say perceived for a reason. Whenever the United States has this perceived enemy, we have to make them the most evil thing there is. We have to make them the worst, the most evil, the most whatever. We have to draw them as ugly and cartoonish and all of this other stuff. Let's go back to World War II, Pearl Harbor and all that. Look at what we did to the Japanese and a lot of other Asian people that weren't even Japanese. Okay, we drew bad comics of them. They were constantly in the news. They're going to take things over. They can't own businesses. Got to take everything away from them. Okay, this is what we do in this country. The people that are on top have to maintain the authority and the control.
Mm-hmm.
And once they lose that authority and control, this country will be a lot better place.
Yeah, I think they're just making a last-ditch effort.
And right now, we're on that cusp. We are on that cusp of change, okay? And they know it. They know it. And they are scared shitless that it's going to happen. And they are holding on with every fiber in their body to keep the hatred going. Because as long as there is hatred, they can remain in power.
Absolutely.
Eliminate the hatred, as my good friend Diana Bishop said. Just imagine if love was the currency. Make love our currency. If love is our currency, this world will become so grand and so awesome and so joyful and so innovative, and we can move so far forward that it's not even funny.
Yep.
Sorry, I got on a soapbox again.
No, don't.
Hey,
come
I
on.
agree. I agree. Love and understanding, man. There's nothing wrong with love and understanding. I'm tired of the hate. But I think we're on that event horizon. I think we're definitely right there.
Absolutely.
I think we're seeing that last. I think that's why we're seeing such an uptick in all the hate. It's like this last ditch effort to hold on to this imaginary thing. And people are coming out of the woodwork like crazy. Like, man, some of the stuff people believe, though, it's like you want to tell them online, like, are you just effing stupid? Like, some of the stuff that you read online is hilarious. But a lot of people believe just the. Yeah. Yes. So we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, but we're doing it.
We are.
We're doing it right here. And even though we may only have a couple people come in, I think we may have only had a couple people probably on Twitter. Hopefully it was more. Twitter has actually been doing very well for me on here. So hopefully there's more. I'm getting out there and I'm talking. I even had an interview with Joe Walsh. Okay. And I know a lot of people got pissed at me because they consider him the enemy. What would you do talking to a Republican, libertarian, conservative? How dare you? If we don't have these conversations, how can we go forward?
Yeah.
We have to have the conversations. Even if it's people that we do not like, trust, or believe in their policies, their theories, or their systems, we still have to have the conversation. Because if we can plant a seed, hopefully somewhere along the line it gets a little sunshine and water and it takes root. Because if that seed were to grow, if that seed were to actually fucking grow, can you imagine how fast that could spread?
I love it.
Bringing the love. That's what it's all about. Bringing the love. We all got to wake up.
Have to.
Exactly. All right. We have gone over my time limit, but I knew we would. I actually had 2 hours cut out my day for this. 2 hours.
Me too. I was just like 6-ish. I'll be.
Yes. I already know that Jeremy and I mean, we can get going and going. We had a great episode last week on wokeism, I think it was.
Oh, good. I'll check it out.
Yes. And obviously you're here and you're a talker also. Lana was busy. Otherwise, Lana would be here next time we have another CRT. Lana will be here. She wants to be here. Oh my God, if she would have been here, oh Jesus Christ. This would have been a 2-hour show because
At least 2 hours.
Yeah, but I definitely recommend everybody at least look into critical race theory. It's an interesting topic, and I typically don't retain a lot of information unless I'm seriously interested in it. It's just who I am. But yeah, CRT. Derek Bell has a lot of information on Wikipedia for him. That's where I got a lot of my stuff.
Yes,
it talks about his upbringing, his resume, his history in school, and all that. Yep. I mean, he's a real. I mean, he worked for every bit of what he accomplished. You know what I mean? Yeah. In the face of, and this is during the 60s and 70s and 80s. I mean, keep in mind. You know what I mean? Becoming a lawyer and all that stuff. Like, I'm just impressed. I'm just so impressed with stuff like this.
I want to put this up again because I want people to look over on the right side of the page over where I got like the mouse over here.
That's the name of the book right there. Race, Racism, and American Law. That's the one. It was 1973 and it's still in print today. I think it's in the 6th edition.
I want people to check out these books by Derek Bell. And We Are Not Saved, The Elusive Quest for Racial Justice. Good book. By Derek Bell, Race, Racism, and American Law. I want you, if there's any of the books that he's written that I would really encourage you to check out, that's the one that I want you to check out because that goes over a lot of the systemic discrimination, especially systemic racism that exists. And it's going to point out to you the case laws, the laws our Supreme Court rule on. Very, very important to have this knowledge. Very important. Critical race theory, key writings that form the movement, words that wound, a tort action for racial insults, epithets, and name calling. First Amendment formalism is giving way to First Amendment legal realism. let's see. Critical race theory, the cutting edge. Forward, the jurisprudence of Reconstruction. Race, racism, and multiraciality in the in American education. He hollers, let him go. Regulating racist speech on campus. Public responses to racist speech, considering the victim's story.
Oh my God.
Where is your body, and other essays on race, gender, and the law. All of these books are going to talk to you about critical race theory. They're all about critical race theory. And
I barely wrote one book.
and I want people to understand, here's the biggest takeaway you should get about this. It's no longer critical race theory.
Yes.
It's critical race fact.
Whether you like it or not, it really
but
is.
Also, please look up the term divisive concepts, because that's what they are banning in schools, not critical race theory, because they do not teach critical race fact in schools.
Exactly. Exactly.
They should.
Yeah, but in schools K through 12, they don't.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Hopefully they will.
They touch on it a little bit here and there, because they might talk about Rosa Parks, and the fact that they talk about Rosa Parks and what she did. That goes into a little bit of what Derek Bell was talking in the legal aspect related to critical race theory. It's not the teaching of critical race theory. It's a teaching of history, something that happened to fall under the premise of critical race theory, which is now critical race fact. Just know it.
Yeah, and it's not, please, if they say racist against white people, that's the dumbest thing I've honestly ever heard in my life.
But that's what they are.
Not. It shows racism exists against everybody else.
Just a little fact here. Just a little fact here. Okay. Anyone that is not white that hates a white man because of the oppression, that's not racism. Okay? I want you to understand that is not racism. The oppressor can never be, people can never be racist against the oppressor. It just isn't how it works.
You can hate the oppressor, but it's
it's
typically with good reason.
Hatred
Though, you know
for
what I mean?
the oppression, not because of the color of their skin. Just because the color of their skin happens to be white, and the majority of them that are oppressing are of that skin color, it's not about the skin color for the oppressed. It's about the oppression. For the oppressor, it's definitely about the skin color or the gender or the sexuality or the religion or whatever it is that they're oppressing for. Understand that.
The one thing history has proven, though, is the oppressed will only be oppressed for so long, and there always is a breaking point when people rise up.
Yep.
There always is, and I think we're at that point, man. I think we're really at that point. And I'm not talking rise up as in like a physical revolution, but I'm talking like an actual, I call it a revolution of truth and understanding. You know what I mean? I think we're almost at that point that we're done seeing all the BS lies. We're done. We're tired of being lied to. We're tired of being told who to hate. Not everybody.
Our government will never allow a civil war. Just know this. Our government
it's never happened.
Hold on. Our government will never allow it, because if we were to go into a civil war, an actual civil war, that would make the United States so weak to our adversaries, okay, that they could come in and basically just run right over us. All right. Our government will never allow it to happen. They will give to appease, they'll give the breadcrumb to satisfy now, but they will never give up their control.
Excuse me. We
have to take it, and how we do it is a whole nother story. But eventually, the oppressed are never given power. They've always had to take it.
Yep.
With that, and an hour and a half in.
Damn.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And remember, everyone, always, always, always be kind, be happy, and may good things come your way. And Sarah, don't you leave yet.
Yep. See you guys next week.